This is Dave here from Amplify, and I am talking to Dog Trumpet, aka Pete. Peter, what's the last name, Pete?
Oh, Doherty.
O'Doherty, Peter O'Doherty and Reg Mombassa, brothers. Now, when you say brothers, I just thought it would be Pete Mombassa or Reg O'Doherty, something to make it easier, but I've got no idea. Obviously, brothers from different mothers. Is that right?
No, from the same mother. No, it's just I've just got a fake name. That's all.
A fake name. All
My
right.
name's Doherty too.
And they're called Dog Trumpet. We'll ask them about that in a sec. But AKA Reg and Peter, which is pretty original, or Peter Reg. They were known before they called themselves Dog Trumpet. So that's pretty amazing. And Peter was born on a special day. It's special because it was my birthday as well.
Is that right?
23rd of March, 1958.
You're kidding.
No,
Oh, there you go.
I'm not kidding. So,
We're twins.
we're twins. We're twins. So I have to change my name to Gilbert or something or other, just so that our mums will know.
Oh, well, happy birthday for me and you.
Yeah, happy birthday for both of us. For the past 67 years, I've missed
Yeah.
you. Sorry. I'm sorry. So I could, I've got no idea. Like I do a lot of interviews, obviously, with a lot of people, and they usually become just conversations, obviously. We're going to talk about your album and stuff, but I have no idea. Being someone that's your age, Pete, I've followed you guys forever, obviously, because I've been around music. When I was younger, I went to shows. Greedy was a madman, especially at the start. And, so there was something special about what was taking place that, kept on plugging into your head. So you had a connection to it for one reason or another because it was entertaining. Before entertainment became, act this way and act that way, he was really, you guys broke the mold a little bit in terms of, being mental as anything, being a bit crazy. And so it's hard to even know where to talk because there's so much to talk about, so much that you could say, and that's not even touching the art side. You guys have been artists all your life as well, haven't you? I mean, all you early mental guys were artists to start with, weren't you?
Well, they all met at art school.
We were an art school band. We started at art school.
It's just unbelievable. So I've got no idea where to go with this from one perspective, but let's start anyway. Maybe you can just give for people, some young people who look at this sort of thing and probably wonder who, Peter O'Doherty or Reg Mombassa are. Not that, Reggie's got a pretty big name, obviously. Talk a little bit about whatever, a bit of history to give them a bit of history as to, I don't know, like I say, it's probably hard for you guys. You've done 10 million interviews in the past, so just tell them a bit about who you are, what you do, and how you got to Dog Trumpet. And when I say how you got to Dog Trumpet, that's 30 years old in itself. So it's not like that's young as well. So
We've been playing in Dog Trumpet longer than we were in the Mentals.
yeah, well, that's right. You finished in the Mentals around 2000, 2002 or something or other.
Yeah, 1999, 2000 it was.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
2000, and then you played, Peter and Reg and Peter probably looking for a name. How'd you come up with Dog Trumpet?
Well, it was an image that I'd been doing for Mambo. It was just like a cross between a dog and a jet engine and a trumpet. So we thought, oh well, there's an image we can use, and that name will do. I mean, we obviously we started out. Peter and I were founding members of Mental as Anything. And we played with them for 25 years or something, and then we left the Mentals in around 2000, and we'd already had Dog Trumpet. We'd been going for about 10 years, so we just wanted more time to spend on Dog Trumpet and on our art careers. So Dog Trumpet's released 10 albums now, or
Yeah, ninth album, I think.
nine plus one double, so I counted as 10.
Plus the double, yeah.
And a couple of EPs, so we've been going for a while.
And any animosity in the move, or just time?
No, I think it did. When we announced we were leaving, it did shock Greedy and Martin a bit, and Bird, but we did it slowly. I hung around a bit longer while they trained up the new guitar guitarist and the new bass player that was replacing Peter. So so it was done amicably, and we still get on with the other guys and still see them occasionally. So
I think
did
it
you
was
ever
a shock
play?
to them. It was a shock when we sort of announced it in 1999, late 1999, that I was going to leave and that Reg would follow. Only that we'd had the same stable lineup in Mental since 1977, right through till
Yeah,
that time. No changes.
yeah,
Pretty unusual for most bands, to have been that, have that longevity together.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it was
Yeah,
a bit
right.
like someone in the family, they leave, deciding they're going to leave and not turn up for the Christmas lunches anymore.
That's it. Did you play together at all in that next 25 years, or because they were still an active band, you didn't really sort of
Well,
come?
that's right. They replaced us, so they continued without us, and we didn't need to come back. We did do a couple of like just one-off memorial shows, here and there, but it was really once or twice that we did that. But no, they continued on, and then Martin started getting sick in the late 2000, the teens, and then so it was Greedy and Martin were the last original members, and the drummer had left, and so it became just Greedy in the end, and for the last 2 or 3 years, and then
we did we played on a couple of songs later, and after we left, that they recorded an album of acoustic versions of some of the old metal songs. So we played on a couple of things as well as live a couple of times, but basically we left it to them.
Yeah.
Greedy's passing was a shock, especially when you think how active he was, and he's sort of in your head. He was in my head as superhuman, and then so when he passed at 63, and of course, we're being similar ages, you sort of think, wow, because I don't feel like I'm close to it, and he's gone. So that must have been sad. Must have been the end of an era. How do you?
No one saw it coming, that's for sure. And Martin and Bird, the original drummer, had both had some health issues, so it was really not Greedy was not the one on the radar.
No.
No, we thought Greedy would live the longest of all of us because he was reasonable. He drank a little bit, but he wasn't. He wasn't.
He also had that presence.
He wasn't a heavy partier, and he used to run and look after himself. So it was very surprising when he went so suddenly and unexpectedly like that.
Okay, just before we move on, which we will, I'd love to have a long, conscious conversation with you about, what you've experienced and what you felt and all that sort of stuff, because I'm into that sort of gear now. I suppose some of us, as we get older, get a bit existential or a bit metaphysical or whatever. But how do you feel about, that was like you guys were kids basically, and you had enormous success. I mean, you had enormous exposure, and you had to deal with all of that sort of stuff in a band. So it's not like, you're one person, you've got 4 or 5 people dealing with ego and all that sort of stuff. And then to move on to Dog Trumpet, which is more, and to be brothers in the process, because this is like, that must be special in itself, because brothers fight, and obviously you have your, falling out and all that sort of gear, but you've sort of carried on this 50 years. It's a real big story. It is.
It's unusual. I mean, I was the youngest, and Reg is 6.5 years older. So, we wouldn't have expected that we would, when I was a teenager, that we would end up working together, musically, and not just work together, but still be working together, almost 50 years later. It's quite ridiculous, but there you go. It's worked, and we don't really fight. We just sort of know how to, work around each other and with each other. So that's the trick, I think, with getting on with people and getting on with the Mentals was kind of the same. We had a chemistry that seemed to work when the 5 of us were together. I think when Reg and myself left, that's when the chemistry changed, and they ended up having a falling out, with the drummer. And anyway, that was another story. But
I've got a bleeder happening here. So
I mean, when I was the only one who didn't go to art school, so Reg and Martin sort of found each other at art school as 2 musicians who might have a jam together, and that was around in 1976 or was it 75, Chris? It
was very late 75 where we first had a bit of a jam in my bedroom or his bedroom.
Right. Yeah.
But we did our first gig sometime in
I think
Early-ish in '76, we played at an art student party in Balmain.
you see
And
the
that was with the original bass player Steve Coburn, who was at art school too, and Dave Toohill, the drummer who stayed with the Mentals right through. So I just filled in for Steve Coburn in 1977, around the time when Elvis died. So we kind of always sort of said that was our unofficial, formation of the five, the band members of Metal Is Anything that continued for 22 years. And that's around when Greedy joined too.
People don't realise, because back, colour TV had been in for a year or two here at that stage.
Yeah.
And videos, no one knew what videos were to some degree. And you guys were on Countdown, which was like bigger than Ben-Hur.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the viewership of Countdown would pale most shows today anywhere. And so, everyone was watching it and all that sort of stuff. So it was a massive, it was like a prehistoric time where, Stone Age people were bashing rocks or something or other.
It kind of was. I mean, when we first went on Countdown, I think Countdown had started around '74. So it felt like it had been established for years, like it had been there forever almost. But it was still pretty new when you can think of that timeline, and that was the time when punk was exploding in 1976, and then all the sort of new wave thing happened, and for want of a better umbrella term for all those kind of bands who were doing that, and we were one of those, our audience was a combination of art schoolers and surfers and punks and inner city types.
Love him or hate him, Mo was a superstar too when you look back, because what he had to do and the way made relationships with everyone all around the world and exposed everyone to that world sort of market, was a pretty big thing. So
yeah, no, Molly was world famous, really. He was friends with a lot of those big.
I know we've all got stories about that St Kilda, pulling up the back, Bowie parties and all that sort of stuff, and the spa, and so we won't go into it because we'll probably all get sued or something like that.
I never went to any of those spas.
No, we didn't attend any of those parties, so I can't help them.
Well, I was managing a band at the time, and the lead guitarist lived right behind him, across the road from the wind-up, and we had 3 17-year-olds in the band who they ended up going to jail for murder for 20 years. So they were mad, and so they were young and pretty, so they'd always get invited in and to the party. So it was an interesting sort of. Anyhow, enough of all that, because
Yeah, right.
I'm not even. You see the boss, Pete, by the way? Older brothers, is Reg the boss, or
No, if
my age.
if there's any boss, it's Peter, because he does all the recording and mixing.
Okay, all right. Let's get on to something. How would you describe your sound?
How would well, it's kind of it's sort of a hybrid of, we like '60s pop music, but we also like old jazz and blues and country music and folk music. So and we also particularly like psychedelic '60s music. So it's kind of a mixture of all that. So we like a folk rock, psychedelic blues country band, I guess.
Okay,
it all just feeds into a general approach, I suppose, and then you just do it in a kind of contemporary sense of what we're doing now, rather than it's not like we're trying to write songs that hark back to any particular era, but obviously that comes into the way we, the way you sort of approach songwriting.
Is Live Forever similar to the first, or is it, moved gradually all the way through all the albums? You've sort of moved your style all the way through and changed, and
I think you can see there's a thread all the way through, and in that you'd probably find most of the albums that we make with selective songs are sort of outside of the boundaries of any particular era. It's influenced by all that stuff we just talked about, but hopefully you can say it's sort of timeless. Really, that's the kind of music I like nowadays too. Stuff that that could come from 1990s or could come from the 1960s.
okay. And has technology changed it much or not really? You know, still the same old guitar and, you know, a company.
Well, the technology has changed, but I mean, we're still a band that plays. You know, we play the guitar with with
Pretty much.
guitars, drums, and bass. It's all
Yeah.
that's a fairly traditional approach. But no, we don't. I mean, we don't particularly follow current musical trends. We don't really care about
No.
that. We just
Okay.
do what we do.
But,
Do you
but,
get
but
in?
the technology has changed in that, we're recording nowadays with a computer and Pro Tools and, plugins, it's
Yeah.
or,
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
kind of that world, but that world's pretty good. And I've been able to manage to get my head around how to do that. The basics of that is pretty much all you need. And apart from that, amplifiers, some good microphones and preamps, and you're still doing it in the old-fashioned sense. But we're out with this new album. Got my son playing drums and helping with the
Good.
recording, and he mixed it. And he just brings a sort of more a younger person's
Yeah. Yeah.
palette of technical knowledge, which surpasses mine. And we've added a few extra touches of synthesizers and things that we haven't used so much in the past. Use keyboards over all the albums here and there, but we've just strayed a bit more into slightly different areas there. But you'd be hard pressed to actually pick that up unless you're really sort of focusing in on what sounds are on each song.
Yeah. 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 Bit different to the old Tascam 4-track.
Yeah.
Do you use a lot of pedals? Like, have you used traditional? Is there a lot of pedal stuff? I suppose
Reg
No,
certainly does.
I don't use many. I've got an overdrive and a wah-wah pedal and a tuner. That's all. Pretty
Yeah, that's
straightforward.
about
And I use vibrato and the amplifier a bit. And
Yeah.
All right. Tell us a bit about the album. A bit about the album. Live Forever.
Well, it's a range of songs. There's my song, the Reg's songs sort of overlap in certain areas, and then we sort of part ways. He writes more songs about probably sort of science and the songs about space and time. And there is a song called Space and Time on the album, which deals with some of those, with some of the mysteries of physics, which get in there. And some of my songs are more kind of about memory and existentialism and sort of anxiety, probably. Maybe anxiety is a common factor in our songs.
Is it? Is that coming from personal history, or is that just what you write about other people's anxiety?
well, it's a combination of personal history and observing other people. It's some of our songs have got autobiographical elements, but they're not totally autobiographical.
No, and the world is as always, it's always alarming to pay a lot of attention to the news, which is this year has been particularly alarming. So that's
What?
all that stuff over the
You're
last
not
few
talking
years.
about Trump, surely.
Oh,
It's also, it's also,
no, well, that's
it's also
right. Well, it's there's the rise of real right wing fascist sort of tendencies going on all over the world.
non-truth,
Yeah.
the non-truth environment.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
mean, look, as far as what we write, back on our second Mentals album, Reg wrote a song called "Troop Movements in the Ukraine," and that was released. That was 1980. So
Yeah.
pretty prescient, because that song now is pretty, has absolutely contemporary impact.
Absolutely. All right, I've come to the album. I want to know who Dog Trumpet is. What are the tracks that what are the couple of tracks that I'm going to listen to? What do you want me to go to?
Ooh, what do you reckon?
Yeah, well, pretty much all of them. They're all really.
There you go. All the kids are pretty.
I mean, they're all our. There's two re-recorded songs. We re-recorded Marianne, which is about Marianne Faithfull, which was recorded by the Mentals in the mid-90s, and we also re-recorded Medicine Balls, which was on one of our earlier EPs in the sort of mid-90s, I think it was. So,
Dog Trumpet.
and there's one cover as well from a New Zealand band called the Windy City Strugglers.
That's called Waltz of the Wind.
Okay.
That's good, because we only ever have really recorded on our albums the occasional cover, not many. But Waltz of the Wind is a beauty, and it was really a nice track to record, and it has a kind of folky acoustic quality to it, a little bit different to the other songs on the album, but that's a beauty. High on the Rocks is one of mine, which is kind of goes into a bit of fairly psychedelic kind of soundscape, and quite a long song. Medicine Balls, we're very pleased with it because it's the longest song we've ever recorded. That's the last song on the album.
How long?
Oh, must be around 7 minutes or so, which for us is like prog rock, prog rock sort of territory. So, the stuff that would have infuriated me back in, like listening to, say, Yes albums in the 70s, which I always found was just overblown and indulgent. So, now we're old enough to be able to, we can do whatever we want. We can be that too, as we can be as indulgent as we want.
What about?
We've been doing more jamming, and when we play live, there's a few songs which we sort of elongate, we just go out into fairly amorphous jams, but it's really good fun doing it, and you sort of feel like you're somewhere between a prog rock band, a jazz band, and a folk band when you do that stuff.
What about performance? Are you gigging? Are you doing a bit? Are you going to tour the album? What are you going to do?
Yeah, we don't. I mean, we don't do tours where you're going out playing 6 days a week anymore. No one does that. But we do. We've already done an album launch in Sydney at Camelot. That was great. We had a sellout crowd there, and we did a couple of gigs up at Mullumbimby a few weeks ago.
Best pizza shop in Australia up there, by the way.
Pardon?
Best pizza shop in Australia up in Mullumbimby.
Oh, is that right? Oh,
right.
Okay.
Massive. Sorry.
Also, we're going to, we're going to, I think, Melbourne later in the year, and we're going to Canberra, South Coast. So we'll get around a bit, but it's not like an enormous non-stop tour.
We're doing Canberra and Newcastle, and and Central Coast. So we're sort of doing it now the South Coast. So we spread it out and play gigs, hopefully for the, finding good gigs and doing it for the, for the actual pleasure of doing it. We're not doing what the Mentals used to do, which was in an era when bands could play 6 nights a week and just keep on the road for massive tours.
Madness. What about the art? I presume you do your own album covers and all that sort of stuff.
Well, we do. Reg does a lot of the posters and T-shirts for the band, and we definitely have an art side to our. Well, we have a kind of almost like a separate art side to our life too. I mean, Reg has for years did a lot of the Mambo stuff, but we both showed at galleries consistently for the last, Reg forever, since the 70s, and me much later on. I started doing it pretty seriously, but Reg just had an art show not too many weeks ago, or a couple of months ago.
That's right. That's our day job.
That's your day job. Well, so what are the aspirations? Is it music forever, or is music going to have a, as you get older, obviously it must be a bit more difficult to, get out there.
There's no sense of having to think about, anything that you would call retirement, because what we do doesn't feel like a normal job. It's just like what we love doing. We've always done that, and both art and music. So it's a bit like being a kid, really. You get to.
I'm of the view that consciously there's the moment and there's collaboration with it. That's all that exists, and so all our, egos and all that sort of stuff are just stories around it. So the fact that someone's big or small, or someone's done this or that or whatever, doesn't mean anything in the moment. And so you're not really going for any better. A lot of the world's trying to find something better or bigger, or it doesn't exist. It's only just here. So
that's the problem of the world, isn't it? The whole idea about growth and profits.
Yeah, the whole idea about that's exactly right.
That's what fucks up the world.
Takes too many people.
The other thing that we need to, humans need to agree on facts. The fact that people seem to have different facts now really makes it very hard to to get on with people and to actually,
Social media's fucked that up, especially with X and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, so also you've got people, Donald will say that's white.
Yeah, that's right.
You can see that it's white. It's always been white. You can see that it's white. And half the people will say, "Oh, yeah, that's white." That's the problem.
He's upturned all the sense of reasonable reality and logic, and that's.
Who knows where it ends? Hopefully, the guys in the white hats will ride in and take him away at some stage. But
absolutely, he should be in jail for a start. But,
my God. Anyhow, there's a week of discussion if we went there, so we won't go down that part.
Yeah.
How about we well, first of all, it'd be remiss of me not to say, with all your experience, have a bit of advice for, any artists that are starting out, especially since you've come through, the prehistoric stage up into this digital age, where,
Yeah,
once upon a time you sold LPs and made some money or CDs. Now you've got to stream billions of times to get a few dollars. So
yeah.
the majors have sort of taken over.
It's a
So
very different world, that's for sure.
very different from muso. You've got a tour or you've got to have a podcast. You've got to have some sort of influence that you can, generate some dollars out of.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think.
pretty much. All the younger bands just they have to play live, and that's where they sell their records if they have them, and their merchandise T-shirts. I mean, that's the only way bands
Before.
unless
And use
unless
social media,
unless they have huge hits, like Taylor Swift or something, they make good money. But bands don't make any money from streaming, that's for sure.
No, I think there's a bigger divide now between the sort of the stars who do make the money still, but now there's a much bigger gap between all the rest of them. Whereas it used to be, there was a kind of a big middle area where people could just make a reasonable living by playing and putting records out and having the occasional, song get into the top 40 or something. And so all of that has changed. And, for our generation now, it seems confusing.
Flick your nipple on OnlyFans, and you can make $10,000 a month or something or other.
Yeah,
We live in the crazy crypto world of
yeah.
right. Make money from nothing. I mean, I can never understand it, but anyhow, it's not for me to understand.
Well,
All right.
it's all changing.
Okay, let's finish with some. Can we finish with some quick questions? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something they're a bit informative. Most people hate them, so I'm sure you will too. What's the craziest thing you've ever done? Most artists don't answer this, by the way, because they immediately conjure up something where they've crossed the line, shot two people, done something or other, because they've all had mad lives. So they say,
Well, we were never in a band where someone murdered someone like your connection. The worst that we had was the odd punch was thrown, perhaps, but that's about it for violence.
They murdered someone after the band stopped.
Right.
But it's like they were high on something or other, and you might even remember maybe this guy had a blue mural Tirana that he was selling, and so they rang him up and ended up putting him in the boot and going on a joyride. But they've paid a hefty price for it. But anyhow, so what's the craziest thing you've ever done?
Nothing.
Too hard?
Talk to you.
I can't think of anything.
Talk to me exactly. What's one topic you can talk about for hours?
Oh, geez.
I could talk about space and time for hours, but that's a bit boring for.
As in the science of it.
It feels like we've just been talking about Dog Trumpet for hours.
We could talk about Dog Trumpet for hours, but we're not going to do that either.
No,
Yes.
we'll try not to bore you too much.
No, you're not boring at all. What's the thing you like most about yourself?
I got nice hair.
I like my hair. I look pretty good with my hair.
I'm really happy with
I'm
the
jealous of both of you. I got none of the bloody stuff.
hair.
But anyhow, self-mutilated. Okay, let's finish then with some favourites. Happy? These are the ones they really hate. They can be all time or they can be whenever. Favourite album?
Oh, geez. I'd say maybe Sticky Fingers.
Oh, it's a great album.
Yeah, I'd say similar. I'd say Let It Bleed or Beggar's Banquet. I mean, that's Stones are our favourite rock and roll band. So
Great albums.
We're also big fans of Bob Dylan and the Kinks and many other people. So I can never select a favourite.
No, I hate those top 10 sort of things where you have to select even like what I just said there. You could say all sorts of things.
I think I can't help but feel that our era going back had some real breakthrough, huge. A lot of the pop stuff these days is popular. It's like visual and all this sort of stuff. But you really want to get into some. You can't go past our era for big band sort of get into it sort of stuff.
Well, the 60s and the early 70s were amazing
Yes.
time for really new forms of older music.
Favorite artist, not in
Uh,
not in art, but in music artist.
You're talking about an artist. Oh well, again,
Music artist.
music artist.
oh,
Favorite music art. Well, for me, it'd be the Stones or Bob Dylan
yeah.
Yeah.
or
The Kinks were pretty amazing. Ray Davies.
Kinks. Yep.
Um,
Favorite movie.
when I was 10, I went to see 2001, the Kubrick film, Space Odyssey.
That was brilliant.
That still stands up.
Well, when you were 7 and I was 7, I went and saw The Sound of Music
Yep, me
at
too.
the cinema.
Yeah.
It was absolutely unbelievable.
Mind blowing. I'd put that one right up there.
I think it said, the screen opened up in Vista Vision or something or other, and
Yep.
Maria's coming up on the hills, and
Absolutely. Julie Andrews on that hill.
it's stuck in my mind forever. Favorite place to visit?
New Zealand.
That's a great place.
Because that's where we come. That's where we come from.
Yeah.
Are you both from New Zealand?
Yep.
We are.
Oh, if I'd have known that, I would have spoken slower. Sorry.
No, we came from just in the south end of Auckland, Papakura, originally.
Well, New Zealand's a great place. I can't detect any accent. You must have come over. You must have been here forever.
Been here for 50 years, so that's probably why.
Yeah, I was 10.
Here's a good one for you guys. Favorite venue to play? And you've played them all, obviously.
Favorite venue?
Oh,
in recent years, it'll probably be Archie's Creek in Victoria. That's a venue we like. It's out in the bush, a couple of hours east of Melbourne, near the coast, and it's just like a little tiny country town with a pub that run by a guy called Peter Foley, who just is a big music fan, and he gets lots of great bands playing in the beer garden. So that's probably our favourite at the moment.
And a lot of the best gigs are the really small ones and the little obscure ones. And there's a few little country ones that we do in the middle of nowhere, where people just come out of the woodwork and they're great. There's Murray Hall down the south coast, down near Tathra. That's cool.
I've done plenty of artist interviews with arena artists, and they say the same thing. They were traveling between somewhere in America, and they came across a bar, and there was about 30 or 40 people there, and they had a blast of a night, and that's the one that sort of sticks out.
Oh, yeah, in America, and you see all sorts of amazing things in tiny bars, and you see really prominent, musicians too. We were in Canada traveling with Mentals in about 1982, 83. We're somewhere like Saskatchewan or something, like really far-flung little, town in the middle of nowhere, and we went to some bar, and the band was playing at the bar, not many people in there, and they were saying, "Hey, Amos," and it was Amos Garrett, the guy who played, guitar for Maria Muldaur and played their solo on Midnight at the Oasis, and like a really amazing guitar player, famous guitar player, playing just 25 people in this bar.
I saw Skyhooks at Calesta College, a girls' college in Springvale, when I was 14, and they were support for the Red House Roll Band. Do you remember the Red House Roll Band?
I remember the name, yeah.
Red House Roll Band. He had a blood capsule that he used to put in his mouth, and seeing and I think Skyhooks was just starting. So yeah, we've all got those sort of stories, I'm sure. Favorite food?
Oh, food.
Favorite food, probably potatoes, because we're Irish.
Oh, and bread.
And bread, yeah, bread.
Starch.
I still like bread.
Starch, carbs, go carbs.
Yeah, that's right.
Favorite drink?
Drink.
Well, yeah. Well, what are you talking? Alcoholic drink or a normal drink?
Whatever your favorite drink is, it can be whatever it is.
Like a whiskey or a red wine.
What type of whiskey?
Oh, it doesn't really matter as long as it's whiskey. I like the Scotch is great, and I also like Irish whiskey too. Actually, but they're a little bit different to each other.
What are you drinking, Reg?
Well, I like cups of tea, and I don't really drink much alcohol anymore, but I used to like drinking beer, so I'd say tea and beer probably.
Favorite person in history apart from me?
Favorite person. Well, that's a hard question too. Let me think.
Person in history. What if we don't have one?
Well, if you don't have one, you don't have one. You don't
I
have a favourite.
really.
They're all your favourites.
I
No,
don't have any favourite.
some people say Mum, some people say Mandela, some people say everyone says something different. Someone's
Yeah, well, it's obvious that you could pull those ones out and say, they're very, they're very worthy, which is good, but there's no particular idea of favourite. They're just people in history.
yeah. You sound like you were born. You're an Aries that was born back a long time ago. I'm only joking, mate. I'm joking.
It's the same as you. You know how long ago.
I know how long ago. It's a long time. All right, let's finish. Favorite. Oh, I bet your Reg is a clean skin. Favorite tattoo.
What tattoo? I don't have any tattoos.
Pete,
No, not a tattoo inside.
not a tattoo.
No.
You've been in bands your whole life.
Yep.
Played music. You've been around people that are scarred from top to bottom.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you've never been, waylaid somewhere where someone's just grabbed you and, inked you somewhere.
As far as I know, none of the mentals had tattoos, and
Really?
none of the Dog Trumpet guys have got tattoos either.
I don't think so.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
We only work with clean skins, like nerds.
Well, there you go. You've just picked up something today, people, that you just wouldn't have known. None of the mentals and none of Dog Trumpet have tattoos. There's
Tattoo
something.
free.
Hang on. Is this the New York Times? Yeah, I've got a story.
It's not too late though. You never know.
No, nothing's too late. That's it, guys. That's it. I'm not sure that it was a spectacular sort of discussion. Like I said, I'm going to do a conscious podcast at some size like this because everyone else does. Because I like to get into that moment stuff where people actually, break down and, for me, there's doing and there's observance. And, if you live in this observant place, nothing really matters because basically, whether it's good or bad, you've got to collaborate with it. And so whatever takes place, you just get in the habit of turning up to whatever takes place.
Yeah.
And that to me, like, do you guys meditate at all or do any of that sort of gear?
No tattoos, no meditation, no yoga.
And you made it this far. God bless. Right?
Well,
That's probably why.
Who's counting?
I look forward to, if you do come to Melbourne, I'll try and get to a show. I look forward to, following, and we'll promote you and all that sort of stuff, and we'll see.
Oh, that's great, Dave. No, thank you.
Eyes on stuff. So thanks for your time today. I really appreciate it. Now I can go and fix this bloody nose that's bleeding. All the best, guys. Be well.
All the domestic stuff. Okay, we'll talk to you again.
Let's have another 20 years.
Hey.
Turn up here, and maybe I'll grab some white hair by that stage.
All right, mate. No worries.
All the best. Thank you. See you.
Thanks for having us on. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.